Ladies and gentlemen, I guess it is that time of the year again, starting my official bracketology journey. This is College Basketball Bracketology 2024 1.0, and this is where I go through the bracket matrix. Also, I look at some of the analytical rankings as well as a few different brackets. Where are teams setting up right now? There's some really impressive mid-major teams. I've got two I'm keeping my eye on, but let's begin with all of the brackets, the full composite. You can see Purdue, the consensus number one overall seed. Remember, they lost to a 16 seed last year. They have only one loss so far. Arizona, how about their loss last night to Stanford? Stanford scoring 100 points. I would expect Arizona to possibly fall to a 2 seed. Houston right now undefeated. The analytics love them. They have had kind of an easy schedule. That's going to change. Their conference, joining the Big 12, very tough conference there. You also do have Kansas as the final 1 seed. UConn, the defending national champs, sitting on the 2 line along with Tennessee, Marquette, and Clemson. I would say Marquette and Clemson maybe a little bit fraudulent. I would expect Marquette by tournament time to be a 4 or 5 seed. Clemson possibly as low as a 5, although the ACC isn't the best this year. You do have FAU, very strange year for FAU so far. The Cinderella Final Four run last year. This year they've had some huge wins, but some demoralizing bad losses. They're sitting on the 3 line, although this was last updated on the 26th because nobody's been putting out brackets for the holidays. I would expect FAU to fall significantly. Illinois also sitting on the 3 line. The Big Ten really wide open. Illinois possibly a top 2 team in that conference along with Purdue. BYU, what unfortunate luck it is for BYU. They're this elite team this year, but this is the year they join the Big 12. Very tough conference. I would be shocked if BYU entered the tournament as a 3 or even a 4 seed. I think they'll fall down at least 2 or 3 lines playing in that tough conference, maybe even more. You do have Memphis in the American sitting on the 3 line right now. Moving on to the 4 seeds, Wisconsin, I would expect Wisconsin to fall at least 2 or 3 seed lines. Oklahoma, I think Oklahoma might miss the tournament, honestly. And people may say, well, Oklahoma, they've had a really good year so far. The Big 12 is really tough, and Oklahoma, if you look at their last 2 or 3 games against subpar competition, it has not been good. So Oklahoma, I think, really overrated right now. North Carolina and Baylor also on the 4 line. Kentucky's offense is crazy, averaging 91 points right now. Creighton also on the 5 line. Kind of a disappointing year so far. How about Colorado State out of the Mountain West? That's a team I'm watching. They've been ranked throughout the entire start of the season. Auburn also on the 5 line. You do have Duke sitting on the 6 line. They returned everyone. Kind of a slow start, but I would expect them to move up at least 2 or 3 seed lines. Texas A&M also on the 6 line. Gonzaga, very streaky team. Not nearly as good in terms of them being on the 6 line. I think they should probably be at 8 or a 9 seed right now. And then Utah, surprising Utah, kind of had a bad performance last night. They only won by 5 points, but they're a 6 seed at this point. Virginia on the 7 line. Ohio State having one of their good years, sitting at 11-2. San Diego State and Iowa State. Iowa State has been pummeling teams. I mean, they have like an average margin of victory of 30 points right now. Ole Miss is another fraud. So my 2 frauds right now are Oklahoma and Ole Miss. Ole Miss is undefeated. They're a top 25 team. But in SEC play, I think they're really going to struggle. Alabama is a juggernaut. They've had a crazy tough schedule. The analytics love them. They'll be on the 4 line by tournament time, in my opinion. Villanova possibly back into the tournament this year. And then Dayton having a nice start to the year in the A-10 there. You do have Providence, James Madison. They're ranked. They're making some noise out of the Sun Belt to go along with their football team. Texas and Colorado. Surprised Texas is sitting on the 9 line at this point based off of where they've been in terms of the AP poll. Colorado was a team that got a lot of preseason hype. It's kind of died down though. Nevada on the 10 line. New Mexico is another team from the Mountain West that a lot of people like. Mississippi State quietly from the SEC with just 2 losses. Miami, they returned a lot. They've gone on several tournament runs. They're on the 10 line. TCU, South Carolina, Michigan State. They're a better team than their record right now. They should move up a few seed lines. Northwestern possibly on the bubble. You do also have Florida And then Utah State, Princeton, very, very good Ivy League school. We know their run last year. Grand Canyon, I believe they only have one loss. Nebraska, Indiana State. Indiana State's really impressive. That's another mid-major. Missouri Valley. Also Drake. There's several good Missouri Valley teams this year, but Indiana State, they did suffer their second loss to Michigan State, but it was a very close game. They ended up losing late. They're a team to watch. Liberty on the 13 line, they got crushed by Alabama recently. UC Irvine out of the Big West, these are all the auto bids. UNC Wilmington, McNeese, so that's the other team. It's Indiana State and McNeese. McNeese just beat Michigan on the road. Will Wade, the head coach there, they're going to win every game in the Southland Conference by 40 points. It's crazy. Purdue, Fort Worth out of the Horizon. The Horizon is wide open. Sanford from the Southern. Akron, Longwood. Longwood always seems to make the tournament, or they always seem to be at least a pretty good team. Vermont, Portland State, Colgate again. Colgate on the 15 line. It's a tradition like no other. Colgate making the tournament. Morehead State, and then the 16 seeds. Man, South Dakota State. The Summit must be really bad this year. I remember when South Dakota State made the tournament as a 12 seed like 5 or 6 years ago, and then there you can see all these others, and then kind of some of the teams on the bubble. Washington, they've had a decent start to their year. Virginia Tech, Kansas State, Butler, St. John's, they got the Rick Pitino hype, although they lost to Michigan like the third game of the season. We know how bad Michigan has been this year. You can see St. Joseph's and Drake. Could Drake actually get a at-large bid? I highly doubt it. Let's take a look at the analytical rankings. Where do we stand right now? You do have Houston sitting at 13-0. They are 0-0 in conference. It's a very tough conference. I would expect Houston to fall back to the pack a little bit. Purdue sitting at 12-1. They lost to Northwestern. Other than that, obviously a very good team. Alabama at 8-5, sitting at number 3 in terms of analytics. They're going to be really good in SEC play. They've got an extremely explosive offense. Arizona, even after their loss and their 3 losses, they're the number 4 team. BYU, in terms of the analytics, the number 5 overall team, 12-1. UConn at number 6. Auburn all the way up to number 7. Marquette at 8. Tennessee sitting at number 9. Michigan State at 8-5, sitting at number 10. Creighton at 11. Clemson at 11-1 at number 12. You do have Iowa State sitting at number 13, because Iowa State's been running up the score against bad teams, let's be honest. Utah at number 14 and FAU at 15. Looking at just these rankings, you can see Alabama, really good offense, not a great defense. The number 77 defense in the country. You could take a look at the adjusted defensive efficiency there for Alabama. So a very high-scoring type team. Moving on to the next 15, you do have North Carolina at number 16, Kansas all the way down at 17, Illinois at 18, Colorado firmly in the top 25 in terms of the analytics, Kentucky, Ohio State, St. Mary's at 9-6. What a streaky team St. Mary's is. Yeah, they had a lot of hype in the preseason. They started off the year like 5-4. They've won a few games. We'll see if they can pull it together in the West Coast. It's kind of a wide open West Coast with San Francisco and Gonzaga right there as well. You do have Villanova, Duke at 24, Gonzaga finishing the top 25, and then Wisconsin, Baylor, Colorado State, San Diego State, and Mississippi State there. And then this is just something I saw. I thought it was interesting. Of course, the player of the year, Zach Edey. This is because the center position is so obsolete in the NBA. He returns to college again. He's a senior now, and he's just running away, it looks like, with the player of the year. Jaden Ledeen randomly making an appearance, though, from Ohio State. Wow. Mark Sears. Remember Mark Sears? Well, I don't remember him at Ohio University, but he was a transfer from Ohio. He goes to Alabama last year, and then this year he's having a breakout season. PJ Hall is still at Clemson. Wow. Kyle Flapowski. There's another big man who, was a 5-star player. Decides to stay at Duke. Everyone thought he was going to be a one and done, but you can just see the top 16 players in terms of the potential player of the year rankings. And then looking at a bracket, we're just going to go through this really quickly. Purdue, the number 1 overall seed in the Midwest. You've got Houston. Purdue possibly losing another 1v16 game against Merrimack. Yeah, could you imagine that? Virginia versus Dayton. I would favorite Dayton in that matchup. Oklahoma versus Indiana State. Certainly Indiana State. Yeah, that's a 12v5 upset written all over it. Kentucky, Indiana. Wait, how is it possible Indiana's a 13 seed? That doesn't even make any sense. Indiana from the Big Ten? Oh my goodness. Villanova, do they have Indiana winning the Big Ten tournament or something? I don't understand that. Villanova, Michigan State. Yeah, I think Michigan State will win that game. Clemson, Akron, I would take Akron. Ohio State, Mississippi State, that's a good matchup there. And then looking at the South, you can see some of the matchups. 2v15, Tennessee, Longwood, San Diego State, Miami. You do not want to face Miami come the tournament. They're a streaky team. They really are. They're always good during the tournament. Duke as a 4 seed against UC Irvine. Creighton versus South Carolina. Remember South Carolina making the Final Four. And then moving on down to the West, you could see Arizona getting a 1 seed. It would be interesting. I want to see a random team get a 1 seed. But I don't think anyone... normally it's always the Blue Bloods get the 1 seeds. I'd like to see just a team like BYU get a 1 seed. It's not going to happen because they play in a tough conference now. But it would be funny. But you can just see some of the other matchups. North Carolina, UNC. Wow, that's a battle of North Carolina. North Carolina versus North Carolina, Wilmington in an actual game. Texas A&M versus Texas or Virginia Tech there. And you can see the other side of it. I would not want to face Alabama if I'm an 11 seed. That's for sure. If Bama is a 6 seed. Ole Miss versus James Madison. I think James Madison would win that game outright. Colorado State, Liberty is a fun matchup. And then you do have Utah, Northwestern, Kansas versus Lipscomb. So, guys, that is just the 1.0 update right now when it comes to the Bracketology 1.0. Maybe I'll do this once every 2 weeks. That's probably what I'm thinking in terms of it. But we are entering conference play. A lot of these teams are going to start losing games. I would expect Houston to start dropping games, but they've already, they had such a great non-conference with the analytics sitting at 13-0 right now. Also Purdue, in terms of 1 seeds, I'm not going to say Purdue's a lock to be a 1 seed, but based on the Big Ten, there's a lot of winnable games in that conference. Even if Purdue loses 2 or 3 more games, they're very likely going to be a 1 seed. Houston, the same thing. Kansas, I think, is going to fall back. Arizona, I think, will probably fall back because they already lost a game to Stanford. So you could see some other teams moving to that 1 line. Imagine Clemson becomes a 1 seed. It's not going to happen. It would be funny, though. But Marquette's a team I feel like is a fraud. Clemson, I feel like, is a fraud. Oklahoma, I feel like, is a fraud. Ole Miss, I feel like, is a fraud. Those would be the 4 teams I'd be looking at as potential fraudulent teams. Also, Wisconsin is another one. The Big Ten's not great, but I think Wisconsin's going to lose a lot in Big Ten play. But either way, guys, that is going to do it for this video. Make sure you follow me on X. Link to that's always in the description.